So the day before this video would be published is the 25th of September 2021, and that marks 10 years since I uploaded my first Minecraft video to my main YouTube channel. I decided to come over here to the Xisumasays channel and talk about it because I didn't really have anything else to throw with my thoughts here. Didn't want to do some big fancy production. I didn't really have inspiration for that. I just wanted to have like a little bit of a chat with all of you. And of course, that's what we're doing right now, isn't it? Some of you would know though that I was actually uploading videos on YouTube before this date, and I always consider this one the sort of birth of the channel because what I was doing before was creating music, which I'd done for many years, but now I was working towards improving my skill set, becoming a better musician, learning to produce and putting my content out there on YouTube, and that's actually what the channel just started out as. I had this username, Xisumavoid. I made Xisuma from the word music by flipping it around, changing some letters, and because that was taken on the platform, I was listening to Void Through Materialism at the time, and so I just went Xisumavoid, and that was the name of the channel. And that was before I even knew that that would ever be used for Minecraft stuff. So I was just on here making music, and I was starting to forge some skills of being able to, work hard and dedicate myself towards something, which is not something I'd done prior to that. So it was a few years before all of this that I just had this moment in life where I was like, I need to focus on something and go in a direction because I've been completely aimless and I don't know what the rest of my life is going to look like. And music was the one thing that had always made sense to me, and that was the thing I knew that I had to do. It wasn't about money, success, fame, anything like that. It was about me getting the music out of my head and out there for anyone who wanted to listen to enjoy, but mainly myself. And I actually, started to walk that path. And so when I got distracted by this little game called Minecraft, I kind of had these skills already in place that meant I could actually do something, and I figured out how to record the game, then I figured out how to edit the videos, and some of the first ones I uploaded were just me explaining how to create things I created in the game without using my voice, and because lots of other people were using their voice, eventually that came around and I would do that too. And I feel like I'm starting to get into the story without prefacing it a little bit. After being on here for 10 years, I didn't have anything big or fancy in mind that I would want to do for this video. I'd actually done some milestone videos in the past, like subscriber milestones, and then I had done anniversary milestones as well, 1 year, 3, 5, 7, and I ended up skipping 9 because in the beginning, when you were getting used to this influx of viewers, you're watching numbers go up, it's all very exciting, and you kind of want to celebrate those things, and you're very into the YouTube game. But then as time goes on, it becomes routine, those numbers mean less, and you have to sort of pivot to being more about the experience you're having day to day. And so now for me, it's more about what else is going on in my life and enjoying the things that I do on YouTube when I come to it. And so I don't really have a lot of ideas for those milestone things because they don't really inspire me anymore. I'm not inspired by some milestone of numbers that I might reach in the future. I'm much more inspired by the creativity that I'm having inside of the Minecraft world on Hermitcraft, and so that's what I focus on now day to day. And I want to take you through a little bit of a nostalgic story here, but I've kind of done that already. That's the point. I've done it with those videos that I've done in the past, and so when this one rolls around, it almost feels like I'm doing this just to serve the fact that it is, okay, 10 years is a big deal. But honestly, I'd be happy to let these days just roll by and not even think about it. And I think this is actually the last time I'll ever do something like this. 15 years, 20 years, if that even is a thing, I don't think I'm really going to be bothered. This is the last time I'm going to make some sort of milestone video. So getting back on track with that story where I was starting to talk about making my first videos and then adding voices to it, I'm actually going to be going deep into that on my live stream, so I kind of don't really want to walk that path with this video, and the live stream that I'm talking about would have already happened when you're watching this video. So that'll be on my second channel, which is so confusing, right? We've got the main channel that we're celebrating with a live stream on the second and a video on the Xisumasays channel. It makes no sense. But yes, my plans for that live stream is to actually go back to the very first videos that I uploaded and watch them again with my audience. Not all the way, I'll be skipping about, and then I'll start to jump through the video feed over the years and take questions from the audience about what they're seeing, because my experience of my channel is everything. Every single video is not just what someone watched, but like the story behind it. I'll remember editing, I'll remember music I was listening to, where I was, what I felt like at the time, what I was doing. And I think it'll be interesting just to walk through all of that one by one while my audience is there asking questions and just see what they make of it all as well. Because going back to those past years, it's also different from what it is now. I've learned to really use my voice to express myself, and I started out very monotone. Hello YouTube, welcome back to another video. And that's what a lot of us would have sounded like back then at the time to sit down and start to record. And I would say that it would be like that for most people who start to sit down and record. But the reality is, a lot of people are now growing up listening to people who learned how to use their voices like this. And so I imagine a lot of young kids are gonna, maybe they watch my videos and they sit down, they hit record and they go, hello YouTube, welcome back to my server, So it's kind of not a thing anymore. But if you go back to that old school YouTube, and I wish there was a way, they should add a feature where you can roll back time and see what the front page of YouTube looked like on 2012 and search it as if it were that moment in time, because you'll find a lot of people talked differently, the type of content that was interesting was different, the whole landscape was different. And so that live stream is going to be like us walking through that landscape, seeing it change and evolve over time. So going back to the idea of milestones, I've been trying to force myself to reflect on what's happened over the last 10 years. What might the next 10 years hold? But the reality is I'm already a very reflective person who keeps taking things into account and trying to understand what's happening and sort of get out of my own way, so to speak. And so everything I'm going to say at this point in time just feels like things I've already chatted about on my live streams, and I've already got a good idea of where we are right now. This isn't hitting me out of the blue like, oh my god, 10 years. It's like I've been watching the time tick by and making sure that I'm in a trajectory to grow and to go in the right direction for me and for the people around me as well. So if you've watched some of these red videos on my channel, you would have pieced together that I was previously an unhappy, miserable person. I've been through a lot of abuse and trauma in my life, and I really struggled to deal with those things in my youth and early adult years, if you want to call them that. I tend to look at the early 20s as just still being a kid in some ways, but now I do feel like an adult with my head screwed on. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, but YouTube has been a massive part of that. That is something I'm very thankful for, with having an audience, because when I started to make these videos, I essentially opened myself up to strangers in a way, and I got a lot of positivity back. Now I understand what a parasocial relationship is, and I understand how some of this positivity that you receive is kind of biased and skewed, but I managed to use it in a good way. It gave me encouragement to keep going, and it helped me boost some of my skills for talking on camera and talking to other people as well, and just socializing better and growing as a person in a positive direction. I feel like that kind of snowballed a fair bit to where it could leak out into other aspects of my life. I could then look at other things that were challenging and difficult and find ways to deal with them thanks to this positive momentum that had started kind of on YouTube, but it had started before that. You see, before I was doing this, I mentioned that with music, I was trying to go somewhere and make something of myself and do something that was right for me, and that had also come along with exercise. I'd started getting on the bike, I'd started lifting weights and doing some positive things for myself, and so I could then look at those and learn how to go further with them as well. And I tend to do that with just a lot of things now, is just to step back from you doing it and think about a bigger picture and develop good habits. And it all started with YouTube, and I'm incredibly thankful for it and for all the positivity that people gave me over the years. So if you're someone out there who just left a nice message one day on one of my videos, I thank you for that, because I had so many of those and it really pushed me in the right direction. And now I feel like when I'm on the internet, all I want to do is put positivity out there. I don't want to be negative like I once were. I used to look at a lot of things in the world or other people and see the worst and focus on that, and these days I prefer to try and find the good in everything and look for the best in people and to share that. And so that positivity can go a long way. You never know, just saying something nice to someone, have a nice day, after you've had an interaction with someone, could do a lot. It might do nothing, but it's always nice to be nice to others, and I had a lot of that coming my way through this, and it really helped me. So a lot of this chat so far has been positive, and I was trying to think of what about some negatives that have happened along the way, you know? And I think there were some harder times in the history of doing all of this where I was in the beginning far more focused on numbers and growth and looking out at what other people were doing and comparing that to my own experience and thinking that I was maybe inadequate as a content creator. And that stuff's long behind me now, but there is a quote that I love that really kind of summarizes this experience, which is comparison is the thief of joy. You should always be measuring yourself against yourself in a strange way. Can be useful to see what other people are doing, but you've got to pay attention to when the mind wanders and you're thinking about what someone else is doing and then you're comparing it against your own content and it's creating this negative feeling. And I went through a lot of that in the earlier days of YouTube. Initially it was like one big buzz, so much fun, then it becomes a rhythm, a routine, and then suddenly there's like a lot of normality that allows some negativity to kind of seep in there. And so I had gone through a few patches here and there over the years where doing YouTube was tough, it was difficult, it was a grind, but fortunately got to a better space with that. And I think it kind of coincided a lot with the discussion around mental health in the mainstream just becoming more and more prominent, also seeking its way into the YouTube community and YouTube themselves talking about creator burnout and these things. I feel like YouTube talking about it came like a couple of years after I'd gone through it and then figured all of that stuff out. So now for me and for a long time it's always just been about enjoying the experience and not worrying what else is going on around you. Another thing I've had is just a sense of maybe stagnation in a way. I wouldn't have used that word until right now. Literally it just popped into my head. But essentially I've been doing the same thing for a few years in a row now, and I'm fine with that because I don't feel like I have to prove anything anymore. I just want to have fun doing what I'm doing. But it does make me feel like there could be something like a next step beyond what I'm currently doing, and I can't seem to find that. Now, I haven't thrown myself fully into anything else because nothing's come along like a clear beacon of light saying this is what you need to do next. But it's on the back of my mind all the time, and I realize that I've actually taken some steps to deal with that I initially maybe thought of a bit negatively. Like this channel, it was growing for a while, it was going in a good direction. I thought this would be, a thing I could keep doing, and then that momentum kind of died down as I struggled to make more content for this, as it was really just me starting to recite some of the same things over and over again. And so this channel has now kind of lulled, and I'm fine with that. I've also tried to have a go at making my music channel go somewhere. Again, it started off with a bit of a boom and then it kind of petered out. And there are still people over there enjoying that content and it does attract viewers, but it's not really like going in a trajectory that I should follow. And so now that I've tried these things, I can realize that I was looking for success in these areas. The question is, if I had achieved that success, would I feel the way I am about it now? Is success actually what I'm after? And I'm not really sure what the answer to that question is, but I'm happy that I tried these things. And trying and branching out and doing new things and experimenting is something really important to do and not to get stuck into too much of a mold. So around my main channel, it's pretty much been routine for a long time, right? There's been snapshot videos, there's been Hermitcraft for the last few years, and that's pretty much it. I've recently experimented with some shorts videos. On occasion I do myth busting, but around that I've actually tried a fair bit of experimentation with things I've done on Twitch, things I've done collaboratively with other people, stuff behind the scenes that you may not notice, and then the more obvious things like these other channels. And I actually think it's really good that I tried to do that. I'm hoping there's things there that I've learned that will become apparent and more useful to me later on. And there's this old saying of like, you miss all the shots you don't take. So even if these things turn out to not be some future or something that I'm big and passionate about and the next step for me, the fact that I tried to do something I think is really important. And speaking of experimentation, I have something in the works behind the scenes that is adjacent to something I'm really passionate about, and I'm very curious to see how that goes, as if it works or it doesn't work, it's probably going to continue leading me in that direction, and maybe I'll talk about that more when it comes around. The other thing I experimented with today as I was editing and recording this video was just listening back to what I've said before to think about what I'm going to say next, and I really quite like that. I was also editing out all the moments where I stop and breathe like this in between the words. Did you notice it? Did you notice I had done that? Let me know in a comment down below. So this one's been quite the discussion. I didn't really think I'd find like a moment of clarity in the middle of all this, but reflecting on the other channels that I've tried, I realised that it's a really good idea that I did just try, and it doesn't matter if things didn't pan out maybe the way I thought they might. And so that's been a positive takeaway from me from this, and I wanted to leave you with a positive takeaway as well. And I think it's this: if you're tuning in because you're like, oh, I like what Xisuma does and he puts out this great content and I want to do the same thing. If you want to do something, it's got to be authentically you. A lot of this in a way was a weird accident. I stumbled into doing many of the things that I now do, and I didn't have those ambitions beforehand. And so that stumbling in means a lot of what I was doing was just exploring my curiosity and being authentic. So if you're thinking about numbers and audience and things that are not coming from within but are external out there in the world, I don't think that is a great reason to pursue something. I think you need to find what is it that's in that you need to put out there. And once you put it out there, whatever the numbers are, it doesn't really matter. It's the process of getting it from within and putting it out there in the world, if you are a creative sort of person like I am. So I think that's a good note to end it on right there. So thanks for listening. Leave a like if you want to support the channel, and I'll see you soon with some more content. Bye bye.